are listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Well, hello, and welcome to the Fouché Way radio show, live every Thursday at 1 o'clock p.m., sponsored by the nonprofit organization called Canine Hope for Improvement Program, where we hope to improve the quality of our dogs' lives by moving towards a no-kill society. The number here is 818-602-4929. Well, I want to remind everyone about the Woodland Hills Marathon that's being run by Adam Medhurst, who is a dog lover, and we have Wendy Chinchilla on the line to give you more information. Hello, Wendy. Can you tell us?
Hello, London. Hello, everyone, and hello to all the listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for having me on again.
Great.
I just wanted to briefly talk to you about, remind all of our listeners about our old guest, Adam Medhurst. He's actually running his first marathon soon in 9 days. On March 2nd, he'll be running his first marathon, the Woodland Hills in Texas, and he is running it to raise funds for Canine Hope for Improvement. Like you mentioned, he's a fellow animal lover and advocate, and he wants to do everything he can to help us raise funds to be able to reach more people in a higher mass, just more people that need our information in regards to their dogs with behavioral or aggression issues.
Absolutely.
So, yes, I just wanted to remind you about that. One of the things is that it's 9 days away. He had a goal of $1,000, and he's $230 away. So I think that we're able to do this. And I'm going to give you all the information to be able to sponsor him if you're able to. Every little bit counts. It would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
And I want to also say thank you to Adam for choosing Canine Hope for Improvement, first of all.
Yeah.
So the website where you can go and sponsor Adam is my.Stevens to race, and the number 2 is actual number, and then race.com. And then it's /AdamMedhurst.com. And the spelling of his last name is M-E-D as in dog, H-U as in umbrella, R as in Rusty, S as in Sam, and T as in Tom. Or you can also look for the information on the Fouché Way Radio Show Facebook page, and also Brandon Fouché's actual Facebook page as well. If you look on the feed, the wall does have recent posts from myself that has the link. So it's really easy. So every little bit counts. So,
right.
All this information that we're giving out here is free to the public. But, if you're able to help us and sponsor Adam with every little bit, then it's just going to help us be able to reach more people.
Fantastic.
So,
yeah. Thank you very much, Wendy. And yeah, this money is going to help people. This is a nonprofit educational nonprofit to help people who are having issues with their dogs. So yes, we're all for Adam. Thank you very much, Wendy.
Yeah, go Team Chip.
I'm sorry?
Go Team Chip.
Yes, go Team Chip.
Go.
All right. Thank you, Wendy.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the show.
All right.
Thank you, Brandon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, I have said before that trust, faith, and patience is what I have learned from my dogs. Understanding their will, not just mine. If I only exercise my will in relations to dog, training sounds good and acceptable because it seems at first thought intelligent. But there is such a thing as intelligent stupidity. And we have to make sure it doesn't get in the way of logic. Sometimes the way we try to relate to animals, we can interfere with the way nature intended them to process information. And this is how they misinterpret our intentions. Humans have invented positive reinforcement, and so we like it. It's the reward method. It's like giving out an allowance because a child does his chores, as opposed to teaching that chores is something that you just must do. And now I have heard from family therapists now that are saying that maybe this was not the best way to teach our children. Maybe there is a change coming. I hope so. We have talked about positive reinforcement, and we have practiced it for so long that we assume that the opposite of positive reinforcement is negative reinforcement. Well, let me tell you a story. One day, a gentleman came to me with a dog that was animal aggressive, with all the traditional pulling and lunging on a leash. His method of handling the problem was with proximity training, with rewards, and this is based on positive reinforcement. We did a few sessions his way, and it was very frustrating to say the least. So I asked him to follow me, and I took him to the horse stables. I put the dog on 2 leashes tied together where he could go 3/4 of the way into the turnout where the horses were. He began to lunge, and the horses got worked up, and my horses, they know dogs. They started running back and forth, and then they charged at the dog. Man, that dog hightailed it out of that arena so fast and sat down and didn't make a sound. Then, very calmly, my horse stuck his neck over the corral bar, and the dog backed up further to get away. I then turned to the gentleman and I said, "Would you have rather my horse had given him a treat?" and you know, I also asked, I says, and do you think that what my horse did was negative reinforcement? He just kind of sat there. He was shocked. You see, listeners, if we keep thinking and responding to positive and negative reinforcement the way we have, you will remain stuck in a dead end with your relationship. Both positive and negative reinforcement came out of the thought of human beings. We practiced them both because we made them up. And now we're arguing about the very thing we created. And we are all trying to do what? Train. Training. But training our dogs to do what? I never met a dog that didn't know how to sit, that didn't know how to stay, that didn't know how to come or heel, or didn't know how to down. They come here knowing how to do that, just like us. The difference is they do it for a hormonal reason. It should not be a trick. You know, there's an old saying, and you hear things in the past and you're not able to relate them until something happens as you get older and they begin to make sense. But I remember a saying that says, when I was a child, I thought like a child, and I did childish things. But when I became a man, I put away those childish games. And so I'm saying the old ways are childish for us to continue. We must elevate ourselves from this type of thinking. We're at a critical point in saving the lives of dogs and our lives too. Because if a dog is misinterpreting our intentions, it is up to us to make him or her understand. Isn't that what we are doing with our children who need our guidance? And so with my first caller, I have Susan on the line with the dog KK, and she also had a dog named Chi Chi that we're going to talk about that's no longer with us. And now this caller that I have online, Susan, has actually stood the test of time. She definitely has learned trust, faith, and patience, all of which she's learned from her dog. So with Susan, I'm so happy to have you on to talk to our listeners and tell us about your journey with Chi Chi and KK today. How are you?
I'm good.
Wow.
And I do believe that animals do come into our lives to bless us.
Yes.
That's very true.
Yeah, it is. And we're beginning to learn that now. The emotional connection, it can no longer be a robotic connection. That is not the way we deal with our dogs. It is on an emotional level, and we need to learn it more on a dog psychology level and see how we can humanize it where the dog and the human benefit. Your story, tell us about, first let's talk about the dog that's no longer with us.
Yes,
Chi-Chi.
Yes.
Tell us about Chi-Chi. Where did she come from? What happened?
Well, my company, well, I don't own it. The company I work for is an emergency restoration company, ServPro, not to make a plug.
Mm-hmm.
They went out to a job site, and they reported to me, we found a dog at this job site. And I said, what do you mean you found a dog? They said, well, the house is empty, but the people left the dog. And Chi-Chi was there in a yard, blocked behind a fence, with an old dog house, an empty bowl, no water, no food, and she was next to a pile of garbage and an in-ground swimming pool that was also full of garbage, which she could have easily fallen into.
Mm-hmm.
So she was, in danger. She was a full-grown cow at 29 pounds.
Mm.
She was full of fleas and her own excrement. She obviously had an eye infection. It turned out to be entropion, which chows get.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just a mess. And my boss said, well, we're going to call the pound. And I said, oh, boy, you call the pound, and that dog is toast. So we started looking up online, and we found Adopt-A-Chow, a rescue group. And they sent someone out and literally had to lasso her to get her into a crate because she was a wild animal. You could not touch her.
Mm-hmm.
She had no collar. She was like a lion, basically. She would eat out of my hand when I gave her food, but as soon as I tried to touch her in any way or make any movement toward her, she growled at me, and I knew she was going to bite me. So we got her into a crate. I didn't. A trainer got her into a crate, and we took her to, and Adopt-A-Chow said, oh, if you can just keep her for a few days, we'll find her a home. Never happened. So I kept her, and I kept her in a crate in my apartment, and because I didn't know what she would do. And she was growling at me when I would take her out.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, I let her out into the apartment, and she became comfortable, and she was actually quite submissive.
Mm-hmm.
Taking her, and we were on walks, and everything was fine until she got comfortable with me and my home, and then she became very aggressive.
Mm.
She attacked a neighbor who was literally just walking past our door. She bit two of my friends.
Mm.
I told both of them, do whatever you do, don't get in her face, and of course they did. And she bit them.
Wow, face bite.
And I knew she was a major liability.
Mm-hmm.
So I started looking up online, and actually Adopt-A-Chow suggested Brandon, and I called him, and we worked with her, and I said, look, I'm not an alpha person. And Brandon said, well, you have to be an alpha.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, but that's not my personality. He said, well, then you have to play that part.
That's right.
And he taught me how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I only gave her affection when I called her to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't love her up because she was so cute.
Right.
I was the alpha.
You were the alpha. That's good.
I was, but it was a part. I had to play a part. Her walking behind me
Mm-hmm.
and did all the things and told me to do, and it worked.
Right. And look, go on. I'm sorry.
And it worked.
You had her for how long?
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
She eventually passed away from Cushing's disease, but in the process, I took her to work. I took her to see clients. I took her on vacation. I took her to restaurants. I mean, I even joke that she was from the pits of South Central to the Ritz-Carlton. Yeah, I mean, and she was treated like a queen because she looked like a queen, and she acted like a queen, and
Right.
everyone loved her.
Yeah, this dog, man, she was something else. And if you go to our Facebook page, people, you can
Yeah.
see her there, Chi-Chi.
Yeah,
Beautiful dog, very beautiful dog.
beautiful, beautiful.
The reason
And even on her,
Go
well, I
on.
was going to say, on her dying day, she had developed this taste for teriyaki chicken.
Hmm.
So on her dying day, my ex came over, and he went to buy the teriyaki chicken as her final meal, and the people at the restaurant, we don't do side dishes. And he said, it's for Chi-Chi.
Right,
No,
right.
okay, we'll get it right now. Because she was so well revered in the community, because she was so well behaved,
Mhm.
and she was just like a little queen.
Yeah. And you know, Susan, I wanted to have you on because there are many people who are having problems with their dogs, and they're giving up on their dogs because they
Yeah, I
just
almost
don't
did. Yeah,
feel that they can help, you know?
Right.
And you went through it
But
all. Here's a dog trying to bite
Yes.
you, bite people, dog aggressive, and you hung in there,
I hung in there. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? And she
I
became
knew I had. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go on.
I knew I had to keep her because, well, she also had an inflammatory bowel disease
Mhm.
from day one, and I'm pretty sure that was from eating bats and birds because regular food, just whatever the neighbors tossed over the fence. I mean, she couldn't even forage for food in the neighborhood. Block.
Wow.
So she was throwing up everything and had diarrhea constantly. And we eventually got that special food from that. Knew tried to give her away, she would be put down
Right.
because really no one was going to tolerate that.
You stuck with Chi-Chi. You turned her around, you know, with my guidance. And
Yeah.
that dog turned out to be wonderful. I mean, I'm sure
Yeah.
that when she passed, it was like a brick hitting you.
Yeah, I told you I would cry because
Of
she
course.
was my best friend. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, she was my best friend.
Yeah.
It was actually harder than losing my parents.
Hmm. And that's what I tell people. You know, sometimes the
Yeah.
relationship with our dogs can be so. You're talking about an emotion. You're talking about hormones can be so strong. It's no difference between people.
Right.
It's the same thing. You know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're
And yeah.
you turned out to be such a marvelous person because after she passed, you went and you rescued another child with the same
yes, and my
problems.
friend said I was crazy.
Yeah.
He said, "What are you doing?"
Uh-huh.
And I said, "This one needs me too."
There we go. And this
Yeah.
one was
Go
the
ahead.
same. People, dogs, and another twist.
Yeah.
Tell them what that is.
Yeah. She has a functioning leg, and she was with an owner for 5 years who dumped her at the pound. I believe she left the country and dumped KK at the pound. And I had heard about her from a rescue group in Sacramento called SAR, S-I-A-R.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me that she was going to be relinquished back to them. But for some reason, the owner dumped her at the pound in Orange County. And yet the lady lived in Santa Cruz. So it was all very strange. The next thing I knew, Adopt a Child called me, Joan and Jean.
Mm-hmm.
I can't pronounce their last name. Brandon, what is the...
Joan and Jean
Jean's last
Scooter
name?
model.
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
I can't pronounce it. Anyway, Joan called me, and she says, I have this chow, and I know Chi-Chi has passed, because everyone knew Chi-Chi in the community, so they knew she had passed. And I said, you don't have the three-legged chow, do you? She said, yes. She's in Culver City, and I live in Culver City. So Kay came from Santa Cruz to Sacramento to the Orange County Pound, where a volunteer said, because they were about to euthanize her, and a volunteer said, oh, my God, I'm calling Adopt Chow. And they called me.
Wow.
This is meant. I have to dog.
You got the same dog.
So I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
So
tell our
ahead.
listeners, why did you go out and get the same kind of dog? Why didn't you get an easier dog? This is important.
Well, because I love chows. I love the fact that they're so loyal to their owners.
Mm-hmm.
And also, this dog was also unadoptable. With 3 legs, she was already 6 years old. She may be older, actually. I think she may be older.
Mm-hmm.
She was basically unadoptable. And the fact that she landed in my city after coming such a long way via Sacramento, Santa Cruz, Orange County, and then landed in my neighborhood, I just felt like Chi-Chi had set this up. That it was just meant to be.
Yeah, and you're the perfect person. You got all the tools. You understand about the discipline, the domination. You know that that's important to be the leader, to be the alpha.
Yes, and I failed at that initially. And a friend of mine, I was telling her, oh, I have to be the alpha. And she said, well, you're not. And we had an argument about that because I knew she was right. So I had to step back and not be loving her up the way I was and, call her to me. And now she respects me a lot more. I know she does.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, she does respect me more now. Yeah.
So, Susan, what would you tell people who are out there in your situation or thinking about getting a dog that might have some issue and they're, the dog is about to be put to sleep? I mean, what would you honestly say to them?
That it's fixable. Sometimes it's the easiest little thing. I just had a problem with KK where she was sitting down on the walks and I couldn't move her. And it was so frustrating because I have to work, do things, and I didn't have 4 hours a day to sit around and wait for my dog to stand up. And I didn't realize it was just as easy as putting her on a collar versus the halter.
Right.
So sometimes it's the easiest little thing that you don't even think of.
Yeah, because everything we do for our dogs, that we do it because we love them, but it doesn't mean necessarily that that's what they need.
Right. Right. And I think because of her disability, that they had her for 5 years, but dumped her, just let her do whatever she wanted. They probably just put her in a yard, and she was never walked properly. And they probably felt sorry for her.
Of course.
And when I walk her, everyone's like, oh, what's wrong with her leg? And I'm just like, she was born like that. Well, would you come up to someone in a wheelchair and ask them what's wrong with your leg?
Exactly. That's a good one.
I don't think so.
Well, it's not over with yet. You've got some other things that we're going to be dealing with.
We have some other issues, yes.
Absolutely.
She's growling at everybody right now.
Just like Chi-Chi did. But, childs generally are left on their own accord to kind of like do what they want to do. And there used to be a saying a long time ago that you didn't train a child trained you.
Right.
And, they need it. Just like every other dog, they need the leadership. They need you to lead them.
Yeah.
And I would like to tell everyone that no matter what kind of dog you have, it's very important for you to take the leadership role. And that leadership role it is comprised of discipline and domination, but not from the concept of the way humans think.
Right.
And we need to get that information. That's what this show is about. And I've been knowing you for some time now, and you you did it. I mean, you've been handling your business for years, and you haven't really wavered. You feel so confident that I don't think there's a dog out there that you couldn't go and get. I mean,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I'm not an alpha personality. I'm not.
Right, but
and in fact, I have a friend who has a dog that's really unruly, and he chases skateboard. And
Right.
I've been trying to get her to go to you, Brandon, and she keeps saying, "Oh, he needs a male. He needs a male." I said, "No, he doesn't need a male. He needs an alpha." And she says, "No, I'm too small. I'm too tiny because she only weighs 100 pounds." I said, "Size doesn't matter."
That's right. Well, you gotta send her to the Facebook page and let her download the seminar that we did at LA Trade Tech College, or listen to the radio show.
I've tried.
Right, before it
She's
gets too
giving
late.
them away, but,
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's what happens. Well, Susan,
I tried.
I know you did. I believe you. Well, Susan, I'm so glad that you came on to tell us about your KK, and to bring up Chi Chi again. And I will be talking to you very soon with KK to help you with her other problems. Okay?
Yes, definitely. Right. We will work on that.
All right. Thank you very much for coming on.
No, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Well, our next guest is Joni, and Joni has 3 dogs. One of the dogs is Oreo, and then we have Sadie, and we have Rocky. And you can see their picture if you go to our Facebook page. And Joni, I believe that we are born in righteousness, and then we choose to go astray. And I say this because it's easy to remember bad things that people do to us and what we do, but it's difficult to remember the good things that we do. And this is one of those times. And I want to introduce you to our listeners. This is Joni. And Joni, tell us about your dog and how you came to know me.
Well, at the time, we had one older dog who has since passed away, but we noticed these 2 adorable black fluffy sisters on the Much Love website. And so we took them in, and they were about 4 months old, absolutely adorable chow mixes, and really cute dogs. And one was so sweet, and the other started showing some signs of having a different personality and would kind of bark at people who came in the house, and then she started attacking anybody wearing white sneakers, and ultimately one day she attacked me. So I came back home saying, Oreo just went for my throat, and that we really have to do something about this. So I called numerous trainers. Every single trainer said, "Oh, your dog attacked you? Well, then you better euthanize her. The only answer is to kill her." And I thought, wait a minute, I can't do that. I actually love this dog. So, and I kind of had promised Oreo we'd keep her for the rest of her life, and so here I was, stuck with this situation. So then we called Much Love, and they're a no-kill agency. And they told me, "Oh, you know what? Call Brandon. Brandon will take her in, and he'll just take her for the rest of her life. We know there's probably no way you'll ever want her back again, but just give her to Brandon, and that's where she'll just be for the rest of her life." So it took me about 2 weeks to connect with you. And during that time, Oreo became sweet little Oreo, and I'd look at her and start to cry, and she'd come over and lick the tears off my face. Sweet, lovely Oreo again. So by the time we got to your place to drop her off, I was in tears, and my husband was there with me, and we walked in. She ran right up to you, sat down, wagged her tail, and was like the perfect dog sitting there with you. I thought, okay, what have we done wrong? Clearly I've done something wrong. I'm not doing something to fulfill this dog because she's a princess with you. So you said, oh my gosh, you seem so upset, and that was pretty obvious. And then I said, well, what did we do wrong? And you said, well, we're going to be fine. She can just stay here. I said, well, no, really? He said, well, all right, then I'll come over and check out your home, check out your other family members, and see if it will be possible for you to keep her. So the following afternoon, you came over. You were so sweet, so kind, so lovely when you came. And you showed us that she was an alpha and that you physically dominated her at that moment. And she didn't like it. But once she was dominated, she was totally drawn to you. And I saw the magic of what this means, that she really needed a leader.
Exactly.
And we were not providing her with that. And, you know, it's true now when I kind of don't lead fully enough for her, she kind of picks a project, and things go south when she picks her own project, you know. So anyway, then after, you know, we went for a walk, beautiful. Both dogs were just so well behaved on the walk. It was a joy to walk. None of this, you know, shoulder dislocation, nothing. They were just perfect dogs on the walk. And then you said to me, well, do you think you can do this? And I said, well, you know, I'm afraid I might hurt her shoulder if I try to dominate her. And you said, do it right now. So I did it right now, and then you told me, back off. Pull back on the energy. And I realized that that was it, that we are energetically interacting with them. Physical really doesn't have anything to do with it.
Exactly.
It's the energy we're projecting onto them.
Got to flow with that energy. Can't restrict it. Right.
Yeah. And so things were just so much better after that. And we worked with her. And then you said, what's the next step? And I said, I want to go hiking with the dogs off leash. So you took me out, and it was like a miracle. But the key was you telling me you need to visualize what it is that you want to happen. It's almost like a meditation.
Right.
If you don't have an intention, then they won't know what they're supposed to do.
And your dogs are so smart like that. You know, I don't say that to every person with their dog, but I saw something in those two dogs of yours that, you know, sometimes there's just something special. And I always say there are no two dogs that are the same, just like no two people that are the same. And you've got to be able to recognize what you got. And it's very difficult to see that if you're looking from your will and not their will, you know?
Right.
Because they do want to please us, but they just don't know how because we're confusing them with all the gibberish that we're doing, you know? We don't give them the freedom to show who they really are. And so we end up seeing who they became.
Right.
And you've been working at this for some time now, that you take them out to the mountains now, and you would not know that these were the same dogs.
No, you wouldn't. I mean, I was just up there this morning with the three of them.
Yeah.
And they're happy as can be, friendly, sociable, greeting people on the trail, greeting other dogs. We never have an incident.
Right.
Never. And it's just amazing to me.
It's been how long now?
Pardon?
How long have you been doing this now?
Well, the Sadie and Oreo are 10 now, so 9 years.
9 years. I wanted to bring you on to talk to some people who have been to me years ago and how you believed in the philosophy and the concept and you stuck with it and where you are today. That's very important. 9 years.
Yeah.
You know, and you keep them coming back to daycare. That's important when you have things to do because they need to be plugged in again to be with the big pack, to see what it's like. You know, just like us, we need to be reminded. But I want you to tell people also, I mean, because you've had some real struggles with these dogs. I mean, can you tell us about some of those? I mean.
Well, you know, part of the struggle was when the third guy joined us. He was a little 5-week-old puppy. And we had to, you know, Oreo kind of thought, oh, wait a minute, she was back in her alpha mode. And I had to out-alpha her.
What did that look like? What was she doing exactly?
What was she doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, poor little Rocky, he was this adorable little, 5-week-old puppy, and he'd look at her the wrong way, and she'd have to, discipline him, and poor thing he couldn't take 3 steps without her correcting him. No, not over there. No. We all know people like this.
Exactly.
But so we just had to let her know that that was not okay. That he was a member of my pack, and that she was a member of my pack too, and that they're all equal. I'm that I'm in fact the queen, not her, and that's just the way it goes.
Exactly.
And she's happier. She really doesn't want to be in that other role. She's nervous and high-strung, and she'll start panting, and you can tell she doesn't want to be doing that. But it's because there's a vacuum. We are not providing the leadership, and so she just can't help herself. She has to step up to the plate, but she doesn't know what to do when she's there.
Yeah, that's the key. That's what I was saying earlier, how they misinterpret our intentions. And you have a perfect example, actually, with Rocky, which is really important when we talk about playing with our dogs or teasing our dogs. You can really create a problem that can change your life. And I think this was something that I want to tell the people. I think your husband was involved with this, right? With Rocky.
Yeah.
That's very important. Let's tell them about that.
Okay, so Rocky was, just your plain old regular puppy, and then my husband picked up a guitar and started playing the guitar, and Rocky was terrified of the noise and reacted to it, started backing away. Then my husband kind of thought it was funny, he'd play the game with him and kind of started chasing him with it.
How old was he at that time?
I'm trying to remember how old he was. He was probably 5 or 6 months old. 6, maybe 7 months old. But, that delicate time. And he, since that time, and it wasn't a big incident, I said, could you please, don't do it, I think he's afraid. Oh, okay. And he stopped. But it wasn't a big thing. But since that time, Rocky has become afraid of men and afraid of men carrying things in particular, and sounds like a bus or a bicycle coming up from behind.
Now,
and from what seemed like a simple, harmless thing for a person to be doing to a dog.
Exactly. We talk about the games that we play and chasing our dogs and having our dogs chase us, and at the time in their life when they're trying to understand things, this can turn your dog around. And a lot of people adopt dogs that are like this, and they have no idea where this came from, this fear aggression, And it's because on one hand, we show the dog that we play with them and we embolden them to become assertive and sometimes dominant. And then on the other hand, we are doing these types of things with them, scaring them in this way. And so they begin to look at us as, I think you're weak as a human, but I still have this fear, so I'm going to growl, okay? Or I'm going to bark at you because I'm conflicted about what I'm feeling, especially when this happens with a member of the family that they're familiar with. It starts off with a familiar person, and then any strange person can trigger that problem. And that's what you've been experiencing with him ever since that day. Just a simple guitar.
Yeah, simple. And, over time, we've been kind of desensitizing him. Like now he can see a bike and he's not afraid anymore. But it has been over a year.
Right.
And he has had to encounter those on his own terms, like off-leash, so that he can create his own space of safety and then gradually diminish that until now he's comfortable near bikes.
Yeah, he's able to exercise his flight syndrome.
Right.
So that he doesn't have to exercise the fight syndrome, because he's done that also. You've had him on the leash and he's lunging because he's not able to get away.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
And he's much better off when we're just on a trail and encounters those things, and that's been able to calm him down. So even now on a leash, when he sees a bike, he's aware of it and slightly wary, but none of that thing of having to just bolt away from that terribly scary thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy, he during that time, I think at the same time he was starting to eat rocks.
Oh yeah, rock. I've forgotten he was eating rocks all the time too.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, this all is taking
Appropriately
place.
named.
Huh? Yeah, with his name, Rocky. Yeah. And this is a neurotic behavior that comes out of stress. That's why in the beginning, in the socialization period with our dogs, we should be more of a leader rather than teasing and playing tug of war or chase or giving them toys or stuffed animals, because we're interfering with the normal flow of things. We're putting thoughts in their minds that we really don't intend to put there. And then they believe the reality that we create for them. And then that can be a lifetime of problems for the owners. And I remember times when you've come in and you were very emotional. But it was a joyful emotion, that you were able to be successful with these dogs, because you went from these two to a third dog.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
Most people would not put up with all of this. A dog attacking you? I mean, that was serious.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was serious.
You're the one who loves her. You're the one who takes care of her. You can't clip her nails. You can't cut the little hair mats behind her ear. I remember those days.
Yeah.
So what would you tell people that are out there that are struggling with this, man?
Go see Brandon is what my first thing I'd say.
Yeah,
but the other thing I think is we need to kind of change our mindset about being the alpha. That we need to embrace that as part of us, and that it's a calm and quiet alpha, and that it's more energetic than we tend to think it is. That it's it's a leader, but it's a very quiet and clear leader.
And people have to be careful because they can forget how to be that, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You act like, oh, wow, you forget about all the problems that you went through. That's why I said I think the way we're created, pretty much in righteousness, that we remember all the bad things, but we got to stick there. We got to make it happen for these dogs. I mean, your dogs never would have made it out of the shelter.
Oh, no. She would have been. And once she made it out, she would have been put right back in, and that would have been it. Nobody would have wanted her.
Because I remember the times that you would come, you say, okay, I need to work on this, and I need to work on this, and this happened. And I remember how afraid you were to go to Runyon Canyon.
Remember?
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. I do remember that.
When you finally went, man, I mean, you were so elated.
Yeah.
And now it's just second thought. You're there all the time now, right?
Yeah, I just do it. And, it wouldn't occur to me to not do it. And it's such a pleasure, such a joy. And we all love it. The dogs and I, we just have a great time. It's freeing. It's a gift. It really, all this training with them has been a gift.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that I would tell people is, if you can kind of pretend you're doing it for the dog, but really you're doing it for yourself. It's such an opportunity to grow. And, don't deny yourself that opportunity.
Yeah. I've said before that, whether you're religious or not, it's interesting that dog spelled backwards is God. And I believe that they are there for a reason. They're like a roadmap to us to stay plugged in to nature, to look at the most simplistic part of ourselves and find that joy within ourselves. I think that's what you've done.
Yeah, they're very simple, and they bring you back to that simple aspect of your life.
Right. And
You know, they just love you because of what you are.
Yeah.
And have
Unconditional.
They don't care what you have.
Right. It's not about the things that we give them, that we think we want them to have. It's about what they need.
Yeah.
It's about what they need. And you've got kids too. Are they interacting with the dogs?
Mhm. Yep. Yeah. In fact, the dogs are great with kids. Well, Oreo, I have to be a little careful of the child I put with Oreo.
Okay, good.
But because I'm still, cautious with her. But certainly the others, they're great with kids.
Now tell us about that, because there's people out there that, they want to have their dogs around kids or something, and you have learned enough to say, I'm going to be careful about this. And tell us about that, because that's really important. Most people think, all dogs love me.
Yeah, no, because Oreo is more sensitive, she's more vigilant. She's much more aware of what's going on around her. Like when I lose my keys, I almost want to say, so Oreo, where'd I put them? Because I know she's been watching, really paying attention to everything. Mm-hmm. And for her, something like a quick movement startles her. Mm-hmm. And she's less comfortable with high-pitched voices of, the sound of people screaming or, little kids screaming or running by her or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do when that takes place? People need to know.
Oh, well, what we did was put up a safety gate and put her in a room on the other side of the safety gate. Mm-hmm. So life was progressing. Everybody was safe, but she was observing. Mm-hmm. And getting accustomed to the rhythm of the voices and the sound of the little feet running on the floor and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then, she's that's where she stays, because I just don't feel 100% comfortable with a little kid and a quick movement.
And that's important for people to understand. You have to protect. You're protecting that dog, and you're protecting other people. Mm-hmm. And what about when you're out? She has a different personality than when she's in the home? Is she more protective when she's at home?
Actually, yeah, she is. Out, she doesn't care that much. No, especially if we're walking, because, I walk the three of them together, and people always say, oh, are you a dog trainer? Oh, my gosh, aren't they walking beautifully? It's like, yeah, Brandon. But she just is pretty businesslike on a walk. She's kind of, I guess she figures I'm in charge, and we're going where I'm telling her we're going to go.
Yeah, because I remember a few times you used to say, I don't think she thinks I'm in charge.
Yeah, I think she does now.
Yeah. I'm sure she does now, because you're on top of that now.
Yeah. And, she comes, like when we're off hiking, if I call her, if I want her to come to my side, she responds immediately. Mm-hmm.
And so you're totally, you can let them go and they come back to you. You've got 3 dogs, and that's great.
Yeah, it is. It's wonderful.
All over that.
I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, well, you're welcome. You did all the work. You believed in what I was telling you, because you tried all the traditional training and that sort of thing, right?
Oh, yeah. To no avail.
Right. And now...
In fact, all it did was build the tension until she finally had to snap,
Right. You're restricting...
Because I was not relaxed about my role as the person in charge.
Yeah, you weren't comfortable.
No, you're right. Yeah.
And a lot of people, they don't understand that it's not being an alpha is not about brute force. It's about strength of personality. Mm-hmm. And if you can control your personality, that's what they're going to feel. That's what they're going to believe. And I remember there were many times you were afraid, and you had to get over that fear. You had to use that fear, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Because I wasn't, with good reason, I was a little bit afraid.
Yeah. But you handled it. And that's what this is about. That's why I wanted to have you on. I thought it would be nice to have 2 people that have been to see me years ago that are still doing the Fouché way, and you're where you want to be. And it really didn't take you that long to get there. It was really when you got ready, when you had to say to yourself, you know what? This is my responsibility, and if I don't do it, nobody's going to be able to do it. These are my dogs. And when you took that responsibility, things changed. I saw the power and the strength in you at that time.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I did too, and it's a really good thing to see that in yourself.
Yeah. And so we want people to know that you don't have to give up on your dog. I mean, if you really want to make it work, you can make it work. You know, these are two people, Joni, that has done this, and you've been doing it for years, and Susan has been doing it for years, and she has no problems adopting dogs that have any kind of issues. I mean, you could do the same thing. I mean, you've been to a dog trying to attack you, other people, and other animals, and you've handled it. You've got the tools to make it work. And so I wanted people to hear you, to let them know that these are people that have been following the Fouché way longer than the radio show, and that you will continue to do this. And I bet that even though now you have 3 dogs, you could probably have 1 or 2 more if you wanted.
Oh, I would. I almost picked one up in a parking lot the other day. So there you go.
There you go. All right, with Joni, you know, time is rolling. We're already at that mark. And I want to thank you for coming on and continue the good work. And I will be seeing you soon. Okay?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Goodbye. Until next Thursday at 1 o'clock p.m. on the Fouché Way radio show.
Thank you, Brandon.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.